Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Friday Live in Humanising the World of Work with Bailey and French. We're live on Facebook, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and we are streaming this onto our podcast, which is available on Spotify as well as multiple other platforms. You'll see I'm wearing my glasses today. For us, it's an important day at Bailey and French. We chose Brighton of all the cities to set up a business. We love the fact that it is one of the most inclusive cultures and creative cultures for a business to be set up in, and we love Brighton. You speak to any of us now today, you'll hear that coming through in all our conversations. And sadly, Pride was cancelled again this year, having been cancelled last year, but they've encouraged everybody to do pop-up Pride events wherever possible. And so this is one of a number of things that we're doing throughout the day today. We've got a Pride lunch, we've got various other things going on, so you might see some people in the background. And I'm really pleased to welcome today several of our team. We've got Ant, who many of you who've seen this already will know. We've also got Jenna and Alan joining us. So hello, Jenna, how are you doing this morning?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Very good, very good. And Alan, how are you doing?
Good morning, really good, thank you, Alex.
Good. I'm loving the t-shirt and your turned up car. We've got the rainbow stuff going on. And very nice, colourful shirt. How are you doing this morning?
You like it? I kind of started with this one and threw this one over the top just because I thought, well, why not today? And I love that countdown. That was cool. I got quite excited when that got to like 5 seconds.
The countdown gets my vote as well. It's really good.
A little bit tense. It certainly focuses your attention, and then I come on with the glasses and but I can't really see much, so I'll probably put those on top of my head for now. But yeah, it's lovely to see you all this morning. We're going to be talking about an important topic because it is our Pride celebration day today. We're going to be talking about inclusion. What does inclusion mean to us? What does it mean to have an inclusive culture? And I just keep it an open conversation, really. We'd love to see some comments coming through. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, you can send some comments through. I think on LinkedIn, you can comment afterwards. We'll certainly respond to everything. So inclusion. I'll start with you, Ant. What does inclusion mean to you?
Really good question, and thank you for putting me on the spot first. Do you know what? I was thinking about this about 5 minutes before I came on because I had a feeling that you might do that to me, and it's really difficult for me to put it into words. I guess it's more of a feeling. For me, inclusion is a feeling. It's when you walk in a room and you feel like you're at home, or you're with friends, or you're with people that you love and care about. Family is a big thing for me. It's a big value. So I think feeling like you're part of that family when you walk through the door, whatever door that might be, whether that's to your workplace, to your home, to wherever you are, I think it's a feeling. But it's difficult to put into words. Other than that, really, it's that's what it is to me.
Okay, cool. Thank you for starting us off. Sorry for putting you on the spot. Alan or Jenna, put your hand up so that you're signalling who's going to talk first. Go on then, Alan, in your jump.
No change there. So inclusivity, if we take it to a work context, I'm sat in the office at the moment, and obviously we've got people remotely as well, which doesn't mean they're not part of the team. It's the feeling that actually, and I'm going to use the age-old term, psychological safety comes into it, that you can be yourself, you can be your authentic self, and you can put anything across that you think is relevant or is going to inspire, motivate, or perhaps develop things within the team. And that's what we're doing here, as you know, and it was the sole aim from day one, which is what's really, really nice. So I'm just waving at Isabel as she's coming in the front door.
Get her to join in if she wants to. We can the more the merrier. Thank you, Alan. Yeah, I know what you mean, and it is something that's just so core, isn't it? So Jenna, what do you think? What does inclusion mean to you?
I think just feeling like you sort of belong and not feeling left out, feeling like you can fit in, like Alan said, you can be yourself and be comfortable to sort of share your own values and views and beliefs and not feel judged by anyone. And I feel like definitely here that's something that we are, and everybody's very accepting of everybody else's views, which is a nice feeling. It's a nice team to be a part of.
Yeah, and it's done in an interesting way, isn't it? So certainly over the last year, we've been using different platforms to connect as a team when we're dispersed in different locations. But more recently, we've been using one particular platform quite predominantly for a whole company chat. And it's been really interesting when I've not been in to see the chat going on and how people are using GIFs and like comedy, but and just playfulness really to kind of ensure that everyone's involved talking about something. So we've had conversations about the Olympics, we've had conversations about, goodness me, some things I shouldn't say on a live session, but that in itself, right, exactly what you're saying, Jenna, like people can say what they really think about things and it doesn't feel like people are holding back. To be honest, no one's holding back at all.
No,
some more than others.
Absolutely.
But that's it, right? It's and that's maybe something that's built over time. You don't have an inclusive culture on day one. It's the intention to have it as soon as possible, but it's trust, it's respect for others' opinions, no matter what those opinions are and how they're expressed. It's about, as Alan, you were saying, psychological safety, believing that the intentions of that person are right because you share the values. Otherwise, maybe they wouldn't be in the room with you. But fundamentally, you're listening and you're curious and you're really trying to understand each other's different opinions and views. And that's what an inclusive culture is, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's the only way you learn and grow, one as an individual, but two as a company, is by listening to what's happening within your teams and the environment you're in. Again, whether that's remotely or actually physically in the room with you in the modern world. And it's the only way as a business you'll develop to the modern world and what's going on by hearing what's going on around you, where you need perhaps to change as well sometimes.
Yeah, no, you're right, and thinking about that, because we can all learn and change and grow through those things. One of the things that really strikes me is the difference in terms of location. So I talk a lot about Brighton being just feeling a very different culture, and I think for me it's obviously we're like a microcosm of that culture. But when you think about it, the difference between cities and how they feel in terms of their level of inclusion is really interesting in terms of how people behave and act and what's influencing that. So I spent quite a bit of my time in different cities in England and internationally, but it always struck me that London didn't feel very inclusive. Whenever I went to London on the train, I don't know, there was a corporate group of commuters that went together in the same carriages. You dare not sit in their seat on the way up, and if you talk and interrupt their breakfast or something, you get the looks and the and but it carried on in terms of how people walked across London Bridge, how people got into the office, how people acted and behaved on buses. And there was a real marked difference when I left and actually started working in Brighton. I remember one of the first days we were coming in, I saw a woman walking down the street in a huge wedding dress with massive Doc Martens on, and she had crazy pink hair. And she was owning it. She just felt like wearing a fancy wedding dress that day. And I was just like, what struck me was her confidence in being herself. And I think that's what I really love about an inclusive culture, is that it's that reduction of judgment. It's that, of course, you do exactly what you want to do. You be and express what's important to you. Hello, Matt.
Matt's in the background.
I hope you can come and join us. He's central and core to our Pride celebration lunch today. But yeah, it's that feeling of the difference in terms of the culture of the city and the location that you're in.
Yeah, no, I totally echo that, having moved from London myself as well. And that was a choice. I moved to London because I wanted to, kickstart the career and get moving and be involved in the buzz of London. And it was really exciting and really diverse. So, you can walk down the road and have all sorts of different foods and different experiences, different cultures that come together. You don't feel included. And again, that was that feeling, you don't feel like you belong. That's not something that you can necessarily put into words all the time, but it's a feeling. And you walk to Brighton and you go, yeah, like you say, there's people walking down the road in bird outfits and wedding dresses, and there's also normal people, like, normal kind of everyday commuters that go on buses and get on their trains. And there's a whole breadth of people, but I get the sense when you talk to people in Brighton, they feel at home. And that's ultimately what inclusion and how I would differentiate diversity from inclusion.
And
I think
so Jen has you've just moved here, haven't you? So how do you feel the difference?
Like, amazing. I mean, I think I said to quite a few of you in the office, like, from being here within a week, everyone was like, are you all right? Are you settling okay? And I was like, I feel like I've been here forever. Like, I just felt included straight away, and I felt so weirdly comfortable and so weirdly at home. Like, it just, I've moved 5 hours away from my home, but I just I haven't ever felt that homesick or that weird feeling at all. I just felt every like, even like you say, walking down the street, I come from the north where everyone's happy and everyone wants to say hello to you, but here it's a different feeling where everyone is just friendly, nobody judges. I don't feel like it matters what I wear walking down the street, or that anybody's looking at me any differently. Like, and I love that feeling, because it's that thing again where you're not being judged, you're not being looked at differently at all, which I love it. And I said the same working here. Within a week, I felt like I knew all of you so well, and like I was part of a family almost. And everyone kept saying, "Are you settling? Alan, are you settling in okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, fine." Going out for drinks with these lot on Friday, and it was just straight away just that nice community feeling. I think it is.
Yeah, we lived up north as well in part of our career, and it is a really friendly atmosphere and environment, isn't it? And I think that's definitely the feeling I got different from London to Brighton, is that there is lots of diversity, there is lots of different things going on all the time, but no one spoke to each other. On the bus, you don't talk to each other. I got to Brighton on my first day on my way to work on the bus, and everyone was talking to me, and I was like, what is going on? But actually, it's a practice that I've continued, and I now purposefully like talking to strangers. I know that sounds like a really crazy thing to say, but I think there was some research actually that came out last week. In fact, I might post it, about the fact that actually it's really good to spend time talking, because there's a bit of social fabric there that extends your network of people and contacts that you know into actually developing your identity beyond what people already know about you. And I love that. I will always have a chat, especially taxi drivers. I love talking to taxi drivers. They've got so much to say. It makes the journey so much more interesting. Alan, you look like you've got a point to say. What are you?
I think as a comparative, having worked in London, obviously down here for years and years, and having lived here until fairly recently, the difference is the people who are working in the city here in Brighton are generally from either within the city or around it, so they almost get it. And we all know at weekends it's party central, almost more so than the West End in some areas, because everybody comes here to completely unwind, to let off steam, to go out, have a good time. It's the sea, it's the fresh air, it's all the rest of it that goes with it, and we're lucky enough to live and work in it, obviously, which without upsetting our colleagues in London. But I think because people are enveloped in the culture, they're not traveling into it and coming out of it each day. That's probably why you get the vibe we've got here. It also, I think, extends tremendously into creativity. I mean, just as an example, look at the number of art shops just along the seafront in the Arches as a nice example of that. And there's anything and everything there, as we all know.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? It's that creativity point. And I don't want to bring it back to just business, and because it is a feeling and it's about the humans. But the reason that people are focusing on inclusion is because if you feel safe to express what you uniquely bring to the table, right, then there's some wonderful, amazing potential that you can achieve. And even more so as a group of connected people who all feel that and can all throw their ideas and be creative and kind of, I don't know, bring all of them, their true selves into that moment to create something pretty cool and pretty awesome, and have fun along the way. Because if you don't have fun along the way, what are we doing? If you're not enjoying the work or enjoying the project that you're working on, and we say that quite a lot, what's the point? So I love that idea on creativity. I
think that links to learning as well. I think something I've noticed, I guess, and it may be that there's a shift in the education system, if we can kind of think about it in the big picture, that actually we're getting better at helping kids learn in the right way, and actually we're creating lifelong learners. and those lifelong learners are entering the kind of the working world and wanting and hungry to learn more and grow more, and there's so much more available than there ever was when I was a kid, just at the, you know, on your fingertips on Google, for example, or other platforms. Obviously there's many available, but you know, being able to find just so much information immediately, real time, just it almost feeds that learning, doesn't it? And I think if you've got a creative, inclusive culture where people are confident to say what they feel, then actually you're also marrying that up with a lovely culture of learning and growth, where people want to know more about what other people think and care about, and the, you know, the different diversity of thought that exists. So it is huge, actually, in terms of I think that combination. There's no one thing, is there, that makes up a culture. There's several different things that you feel and you sense, and as Jenna said as well, you know, mapping into people's values too. It really comes through strongly. I think I've heard more of people's values since living in Brighton than I have anywhere else in the world. People are quite open about what they think, what they believe in, and what they care about.
Yeah,
It's a wonderful thing, isn't it, being in a part of a culture where that is normal, to be talking and expressing who you are, because then you get comfortable with talking about that and exploring that in others as well. I don't know, Jenna and Alan, if you've got any examples of the people that teams that you've worked with before, and then, you know, jumping over to Bailey and French and the difference. But I certainly get the sense myself when we're in a team and we're all curious about each other's views and opinions and differences, and that curiosity kind of feeds the inclusion a little bit. I don't want to be putting words in your mouth. So
I've worked a long time ago now in businesses where it was very role based, where you'd come in and you were expected to get on with whatever it was, obviously. But in terms of the impact around that, how you could learn from it, what you could learn from other people, yes, hard skills, obviously, how to mill a piece of metal down or whatever, absolutely. But in terms of learning about the person and what effectively they could bring, if you like, to the party, and how you could work better together, wasn't encouraged. It's something that occasionally naturally happened that was really good, but it was almost probably slightly because of the environment it was closed shop. You know, you didn't talk about that sort of thing. It was work, and then outside of work was whatever went on for you. Whereas, as we've just talked about, and coming back to the inclusion subject, and being curious almost about what other people can bring to what you're doing. I mean, I'm surrounded by great people within ops and the rest of the business, obviously. And I know there are people within my team who do some things far better than I do, but I wouldn't have discovered that without those conversations.
Yeah, I think for me, I found it even from like the interview process was just much more, that was so inclusive and so like much more calm and relaxed, and there wasn't this huge pressure of, you know, the first time I spoke to Matt and Alan and people like that, I just felt so relaxed and so comfortable to actually be myself in the interview process, almost not be this weird person who I've been in other, you know, interviews where I just get all corporate and panicky and don't know what I'm saying. It was more, I felt relaxed and I felt like I could actually be really honest with people. And I noticed in other interview processes I was a bit like, oh, I'm, you know, moving away from home, I'm moving to Brighton, and it put people off a little bit. Whereas here it was just, yeah, we'll do everything we can to help you. What can we do to support you, from literally day one of speaking, you know, to anyone here. And I think that was a huge thing for me, that just made me feel so welcome and so comfortable from day one, which was lovely.
That's really lovely to hear. And it's really interesting because as I've been, I guess my leadership role has taken more of a forefront of my kind of daily work. I found that people make assumptions that they've had from other businesses about what I might or might not be happy with. And so people might often kind of almost like they preclude what they're going to say. They say, oh, well, obviously you probably don't want this, but I was thinking, da, da, da. And I'm like, no, actually I do want that. Don't make the assumption that just because you've had a leader in another business that maybe, you know, had similar responsibilities to me, that I'm going to respond in the same way they did. Because actually every leader has the choice, don't they, to be the leader they want to be, and to make sure. But I think certainly for leaders that it's harder. You have to be more explicit about your role modeling of inclusion and tell people more about it, because some of the subtle things that I do on a daily basis that I know absolutely demonstrate my feeling about inclusion are completely unseen and unheard of. And that's fine. That should be, that should be just how I am. But I have to also then make sure that I'm being really explicit and talking about those things. And I think that's really important for recruitment processes, but for all kinds of learning situations where people, they need to know up front. It's that almost like that, it sounds weird, but it's that permission giving. It shouldn't be, but it's empowering people to say, by the way, we don't abide by the typical corporate rules here. So, you can be honest, you can say what you think. You're not going to be judged for using particular language or for bringing different ideas in that maybe challenge the status quo. And that's really hard to do on a regular basis, because, with new people coming in, they're going to bring all that experience from other businesses and go, well, actually, it's similar, so therefore it's going to be the same here, and it might not be.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting point, Alex, that it's some of it when people come in is learned behaviors and they don't instantly feel, regardless of the business, that they can almost drop their guard, I suppose you say, and just become part of. Now it's really nice to hear that Jen has had a really pleasant experience coming here, because obviously I was part of that, so that's immensely encouraging and really, really positive and lovely to hear. And we, as a team, obviously we want to keep that up, and we will keep that up, I'm sure. But yeah, learned behavior coming in, it's almost a gentle re-education if somebody thinks in a set way that actually you can be yourself here and you can say what you think, because we keep saying there's no wrong answers to things. We want to hear it all so we can form a balance.
It's kind of, how do you continue communicating that inclusion? And obviously in a recruitment process, that's incredibly different and difficult, potentially more difficult than any other example that I can think of off the top of my head, because you've got like split second decisions and kind of thoughts going through your mind, and the person hasn't got any kind of previous reference other than what they're seeing right there and then. Like, Jenna, that's an amazing experience that you felt so kind of open and able to be yourself straight away, because I kind of always thought that inclusion is built over time, but maybe not. Maybe there is something a bit more intuitive when you walk into somewhere that you've not even walked into before. You just get that sense. So how are you communicating that? What are the people doing? And I think that's a skill that's built. I guess you can be brought up in inclusive environments, which maybe would make you portray those behaviors a little bit more. But how do you communicate inclusivity other than just the words that are coming out of your mouth? Because as we know, most communication isn't through the words that are out of your mouth. It's about body language. It's about reactions to people, what people are saying, and just subtle body movements. When you don't know someone, like, all of those things matter into building a kind of psychologically safe and inclusive mindset in someone. I don't know.
I think from day one almost, or moment one, regardless of who you're speaking to, it's about how you open with them. And I'm going to reflect this back to interview, although I normally describe it as going for a chat initially, because I think that instantly reduces a level of pressure, if not two of them, on whoever you're speaking to. And actually you get some of their authentic self coming out, and you get to understand the person behind, and I hate the term, the employee you're potentially interviewing. You need to know, obviously, yes, they're technically competent depending on what the role is, but what's far more important in my eyes is, once you've got that basic technical competency, is the person who's driving it, and are they the right fit for your team, and what other qualities can they bring outside just a horrible, boring job spec? What makes them tick, what makes them do what they do, and makes them who they are. Because, and the more diversity, to be quite frank with you, the better, I always think.
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting, because how we feel and how we celebrate things as well, then, as a business, makes a huge difference, doesn't it? Because it demonstrates the importance of it to us. And I'm not able to be in the office today, and I'm gutted about that, because for me, Pride is a very, very important celebration of something that is special to Brighton, and special to, but much bigger than that now. And for years I've been going to the Pride celebrations and seen it change, and seen the audience change, and loved seeing the difference. And so this year it feels very, very strange to be able to not be in that big group, that big feeling that we're all in this together, that festival feel of, wow, this is not just me, I'm one of masses of people that believe in this and care about this. And so now having it broken up into these small events, there's an element of sadness. I feel a bit like, oh, but we're having a Pride celebration lunch, but I'd love to hear what Pride means to you. I mean, we've got 5 minutes to go, you know, we're having a special celebration lunch. We're all bringing different foods, and anyone who can't make it, because we've got a couple of people isolating, we're going to be joining remotely. What does that mean to us to be able to celebrate Pride together?
I think, go on.
No, after you, Jenna.
I was just going to say, I think it all literally comes down to the word inclusive, really. Like, it's making everybody in this office and everybody just, you know, feel that it's all right to be who you are, and that, you know, we're 2021 now, things are different, everyone's very open, everyone's happy to hear, especially hear everybody's values and beliefs, and know that this is quite an open space for them, and, you know, they can be themselves and we can actually celebrate that. And, you know, years ago that wouldn't have ever been a thing, and now it is such a lovely thing to be a part of, really, and see people come out of the shell a little bit more and be, especially some of the people in the office, some of my colleagues, be quite passionate about it. And I think that's really nice to see as well. It's something that they are passionate about, and actually hear their stories and hear things, you know, that have gone on in their lives. And I think it's just a nice thing to be able to share together, really.
From me, I think it's around being proud to be who you are and being comfortable being who you are. There's obviously tremendous political history, which I know that Ant and I have talked about previously in other conversations, and I won't bore everybody with that now. But running into that and what that's developed is certainly here, and particularly with the BNF offices, is everybody can just be themselves and get on with their day, you know. And apart from anything else, it puts a tremendous smile on my face most of the time, because the energy that surrounds us is out of this world.
Thanks, guys. What about you, Ant?
Yeah, and Pride for me is just a brilliant opportunity for people to express and for us to celebrate how far we've come and how the direction that we want to be taking. I think that's probably a better way of putting it, right? Because there's still a long way to go. We know that in all things diversity and inclusion. And I think Pride is just another great milestone each year that you celebrate. It's like a birthday, isn't it? You kind of, every year you look back at last year and go, well, what's happened in that year? And I think for me, it's just an opportunity to celebrate something that means so much to so many people. It's a cause, it's a person, human driven cause that means so much to so many. So to get behind it and to support it and understand it and tell stories and hear stories, Jenna, that's a really good point, to actually listen to people who have experiences and who are passionate about it, to further your own education and your own understanding of what it means. That's what Pride means to me anyway.
Yeah, and thank you. And it's lovely to hear the differences in that too. And sorry, Alan, I will call us out as kind of the elders who've been through a little bit longer on this journey, and certainly in the UK.
I am the old person here, let's face it.
But remembering a very different culture, certainly when I was growing up, that wasn't as diverse and inclusive across the UK, and feeling inside that feeling of that voice growing for me over the years of this isn't right, this isn't right, this isn't right. And then when you experience discrimination in whatever format you do for whatever it might be, I certainly have, is being able to almost build your voice and your story. So exactly that, Jenna, having that lived experience, bringing that story to life and being able to say it. Often having been through those challenges, it makes you stronger, doesn't it? And actually you find the words that are really passionate and really fierce about what matters now. And certainly for me, it's certainly becoming a parent completely, accelerated and amplified all of that feeling for me that my children will never experience some of those things. And I'm so proud and so happy that actually we live in a very different era now. But exactly as you said, Anne, there's no answer. We're on a lifelong experience here of celebrating how far we've come and what we're doing. So we've come to the end of our half an hour. It's gone super quick. Jenna, Alan, thank you so much for joining us. Ant and I are here regularly on these calls, and it's great to have 4 of us on. I hope all of our viewers have enjoyed listening and being with us really today. I hope you've enjoyed a nice cup of coffee wherever you are. And we look forward to certainly to our Pride celebration lunch today, but also to celebrating Pride in lots of other ways as well, probably over the weekend too. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your Friday. We'll be back here Friday Live next Friday, 8:30 till 9 GMT on all our platforms. So have a great day, everyone.
Thanks
everyone.
See
you later.
Bye.